Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. It is indeed a time of celebration. House of Cards Season 2 is upon us, and what better way to discuss the goings-on at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and surrounding abodes than by having a pod video cast thing. Yes, we are very luckily and just recently joined, if she can hear me, by Nicole Gunn. You may know her from lots of radio and stuff around Melbourne. Nicole, can you hear me? Kevin Perry from Nelby.com, hello.
Hello, Steve. I can hear you at least.
Look, that's better than what we've had about 10 minutes ago. And, of course, Trevor Long from EFTM.com.au, hello and welcome.
Good evening, good afternoon, good day.
Hey, you know what? Nicole looks like she's with us now.
Woohoo! Technology works.
Don't. Look, you get a jinx us, given how well this has been to get this thing going right now. Wow. Outrageous.
We're back.
So, people, we are here to talk about specifically House of Cards Season 2, a warning to any viewers and listeners that very, very likely we're going to divulge some stuff, some spoilers, I guess, material of a spoilerish nature. But we're not intending to go hard and tell you, oh, this happens and something. This is more talking about what it is, where it's coming from, how it's happening, how we're feeling about it, because it is just a roller coaster ride. Nicole, how are you going with your House of Cards Season 2 journey?
I've got to say, I'm taking a fine wine approach to it this season around. Last time I watched it all in one hit, probably overloaded a little bit. This time I'm doing it episode by episode as it appears. So I'm putting myself in seclusion so I don't see a lot of what's going on. Goosebumps. I really did not expect stuff, and I got the raised hairs on the back of the neck type scenario. It was delicious. Absolutely delicious. Loved it.
It's reasonable to say, Trevor Long, don't you think, that first episode, look, it comes back, it's House of Cards picking up pretty much where we left off, and there is just a moment that just punches you in the face with its brutal reality and reminder of really who Frank Underwood really is.
Yeah, and I think that's the beautiful thing about watching this in your own pace and not knowing where other people are at, is that when someone says, like, wow, or House of Cards, you just did this to me, or whatever on social, you can kind of say to them, have you just watched episode 1? And so the good thing about that is we're not spoiling anything by saying, by goodness me, you're going to enjoy the first episode. Because I think you're right, Mark, because it just shows in TV terms how brilliant this is, because, yeah, there's a bit of revisiting, but it's just in your face. Don't forget, this is Frank Underwood.
Well, that's right. Season 1 ended with the culmination of Frank and his wife's plans for him to elevate to vice president with aims at the presidency. Kevin, it really didn't just sort of take a backpedal, did it? It was straight in. It was going to say, here, we've got an agenda, we've got to deliver it, and it has rolled like a train from there on in.
It actually took me surprised at how quickly it started. With season 1, it was a good 12 months since I'd seen it, and just to jump in, I hadn't really thought about it that much in the 12 months since then, and the storyline just picked up immediately from where it left off, and it actually left me feeling that I had to go back to that last episode of season 1 and just watch that 20 minutes, and just to sort of re-establish where I was at with the show.
It's setting all sorts of records. I'm in Arizona at the moment, in the US, and there is just a glut. I'm sure if you are able to check out and map the traffic. Netflix's servers are running red hot around America. I'm sure quite possibly around the world, though I couldn't even start to guess how. They are just blitzing it, and I think you picked up on it earlier, Trevor, that part of the unique nature of how House of Cards is delivered to us is it's not meted out in that traditional scheduled broadcast mode. It's, congratulations, here's all 13 episodes, do with it as you want, isn't it?
But what's really interesting to me, and look, this applies to everything I do, technology, whatever it might be, I try and take an approach to these things from the average Joe. We, and I say the collective we, we're a little bit engrossed in this. We know so much about Netflix and how it works. The broad population of Australia have no idea what Netflix is and how it operates, and the fact that even the first season was available in this binge format. I had a conversation last night on Facebook with a guy who is not a silly chap, knows his stuff, and he was waiting for it to come on, and I said, you can watch it now. and I actually went step by step in a Facebook conversation on how to get it. I said, you got to like YouTube box, you got to click here, and he was amazed that it was all there. He had no idea, and so there's a balance between people who are having the take it as you need it approach, people that are going as hard as they can, like me. I'm up to episode 9, and people that don't even know that you can do that yet.
Yeah. No, look, it's very cool. I commend you, Nicole, on your approach of pacing them, because it is a drama where there is so much that happens in just a single episode, isn't it? That it's easy to not miss it, but just be a little bit overwhelmed by it, and to pace it out at one a day or however you want to do it, gives you that time to dwell and mull on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying rewatching and getting a little bit obsessed about conversations, the nuances, the minutiae. Why did he look that way? Why did she look that way? I quite enjoy that. I like to, I suppose I could dive headfirst into it and just go absolutely crazy, but I think I'd do too much. I'd miss too much. I like going back and re-examining and thinking, why did he put it in that way? What else is at play here? And either being pleasantly surprised or not when it comes to Frank, when the next episode develops, and thinking, I was right, or no, he totally blew me away. I had no idea where he was going with that one. Oh my God, did he just do that? That's how I'm viewing it. I'm sort of taking it one bite at a time, because I just want to savor it. I want to savor it. That's exactly it.
And reasonable. I mean, you can rush down and like I've been doing it like Trevor, just trying to consume as many as I can to watch it. I know that I watched the end of, I think it was about episode 6 4 times last night, because I kept falling asleep, because that was the last one I was getting to. It's like I can't miss it. I have to rewatch it. So when I finished watching it at 2 a.m., how do you find, Nicole, because there's an interesting part of the narrative for House of Cards where Frank, as a character, obviously lives in the world and interacts with all of the other characters and stuff, but then he has this moment where he breaks the fourth wall and talks directly to the viewer, to the camera, with just an aside.
That was the bit, I talked about that goosebumps moment when he cuts away and says, oh, you're there, and I hadn't forgotten you. That, for mine, was like, I'm being drawn right into it. That totally blew me away, and it's done so well. And I know other shows have tried to do that and involve the audience and draw them in, but that direct line of sight, look me in the eye and say, I'm talking to you, you're listening, you're watching, that for me gave me the goosebumps moment of thinking, oh, this is going to be really good, really good.
You know what's funny to me? I'd forgotten about that. I'd forgotten that was a technique used in the show. And I don't think it's a bad thing to spoil that, but because we're talking about it now, the fact that is a method. But you go nearly a whole episode, and then he does this. Oh, you thought I'd forgotten you. And as the series progresses, it's just back to its normal sense. I'll tell you the other technique they use in the show, which it may be the geek in me, but I absolutely adore the way they use text messaging. They never do an over-the-camera shot of a phone. They never do anything even half like that. They just put the message on the screen as if they've got this, opaque view of the phone. I think it is brilliant.
Yeah, it doesn't need that exposition, does it? It doesn't need the setup of, hang on, we're having this conversation. Let's refer back to that text message I got. It's in your face, and that's how we all operate. I think it's a very clever technique, because that's how we use technology.
It's one of the great hallmarks of the series that it's based on a British series of the same name. They've rewritten it and placed it in America, and obviously changed a little bit of how Frank interacts, but still has kept that venom that he displays, and he and Claire, his wife. It's really interesting the way they integrate technology into it, that I'm sure in 20 years people say, oh, that's so dated, who sends a text message? But that for now, that's just run of the mill. We just do that, and there's people with all sorts of laptops and tablets and iPads and just everything. It's just not even, we don't need to write it as a part, we just accept that that's how it is and we do it. And that, I guess, is then also reflective of the fact that the special thing about House of Cards is that this is not available, Netflix as a company don't exist as your traditional cable company in the US. Is that right, Kevin? They are an online or an internet cable company in and of themselves, delivering this content to us.
Yeah, that's right, but they're growing massively, and revenue's pretty well almost matching HBO now as far as a premium provider of content. And yes, they've also got the Orange is the New Black and a few other series in the works. A lot of new Marvel series that they're going to be bringing to us in the next. A lot of Marvel content, which is going to be fantastic. In the next 18 months or so, we're really going to see Netflix just continue to expand. They're expanding right through Europe, and I mean, you keep hearing talk that they might come to Australia. I'm not so sure about that, but no, it's just it's just an amazing growth in just moving away from that satellite cable TV model and coming into more of a just watching what you want when you want. And I think everyone's so excited about it.
Well, it's the model, Trevor, that is really attractive to what they're calling cord cutters or cable cutters, isn't it? The people that don't move in, they move into a house and they don't get the phone connected, they don't get cable connected, they just get the internet or use wireless internet if that's the deal that they've got running, and that's how they get all of this content to them.
Yeah, the problem a lot of the time with the conversations around the US market, the media market specifically, and comparing it to Australia is we are so different. If pay TV penetration here is 30% of homes. Cord cutting is an American term for people who have been forever on a cable TV plan. It's how you got those channels. And they're realizing that they can get them elsewhere in other ways. And when you've got a Netflix, it really is an option. But we don't have that. And frankly, we're not going to get that at any time soon. So our model is going to continue along the way it is for hate or love, whatever you like. Plenty of people hate it, but plenty of people are quite happy to enjoy a Foxtel subscription, or as I pointed out on Friday, and I've got to tell you, when I wrote quickly how to watch House of Cards in Australia, because with respect to the people that have been writing it, how to get a VPN and how to use Netflix in Australia, the average Joe doesn't want to go around that path. They just want to know how I watch it. They've heard about this thing. How do I watch it? Yeah. I've not had the response to a non-tech article, because I write something about Apple, you might get a big response. Not had a response to a non-tech article like this ever. It's unbelievable. So many people want to know how, and the fact is, for $50, you can watch House of Cards right now. Just sign up for Foxtel Play. It's such a simple solution, and Foxtel are quite happy with that.
And more too, to just, I guess, put a cap on that if you sign up for Foxtel Play and you get the plan that gives you access to House of Cards, you've got Walking Dead, you've got Game of Thrones coming in April, you've got Girls right now, True Detective right now, and that's just the Showcase FX kind of bundle that is like an add-on package to your base package. So there's a ton of stuff to keep you busy. Now, Amnesty declared, how are we watching it, people? Now, I'm luckily in the US, so I get access to Netflix legally. If I was back home, I'd be doing what Trevor does, which is Foxtel playing it up in the biggest way possible. How you guys
Foxtel for me.
Yep.
Foxtel for me.
No, I'm a Netflix customer. I have been a Netflix customer for a couple of years. I watched all of the first season through Netflix, and no, it's fantastic. It's pretty well 1080p quality, and it's stunning. I've got a 55-inch screen, and the quality through Netflix, it's just superb, and it's better than a lot of the local content broadcasts. So I love it.
Yeah, so I watched the first full season on Netflix. I used the Hola blocker in Chrome browser, which is actually a little bit easier to use. So it's probably the best way for people to try and get Netflix if you want to go down that route. But you've still got to subscribe and pay for Netflix, which I've been paying for since the first season. I'd kind of forgotten about it. So what I did, knowing that I have a full Foxtel subscription and I can knock myself out, I just couldn't wait till midday Saturday. So I watched the first 3 episodes on Netflix, and then got my buzz. And then I was just happy to set the IQ to download all the episodes, so they're all sitting in the lounge room right now, ready to go as I need them.
Well, we had to watch it Friday night. We just couldn't risk a spoiler, could we?
Well, and this is part of the big conversation. I mean, we talk about Nicole's metering it out. She's making sure that she's watching it in her time. And to that regard, I guess social media becomes a bit of a... I mean, it's interesting. I'm seeing a lot of the conversation... Have I dropped out?
No, you're with us. You're alive.
I'm seeing a lot of the conversation on social media where people are really conscious of not wanting to spoil any of the big surprises, which is kind of an interesting thing, because they acknowledge that some people are binging and trying to get through as much as they can or get through the entire season. Some people are metering it out. some people are saying, well, I can really only afford two eps now, and I'll do an ep tomorrow night, and just kind of making it fit with their lifestyle, which I guess is the ultimate point of the delivery methodology. It's pretty interesting. As far as watching it, en masse, Kevin, how are you finding that, just end to end?
Look, I've only watched the first 3 episodes. I would have watched a lot more if my wife would let me, but no, I have to watch it with her. Barack Obama told us all that we had to avoid spoilers, and I agree. Online, it has been fairly well spoiler-free. You have to really search in Twitter if you wanted to see some spoilers. But no, generally people have respected the spoilers. Should we discuss that insert? The
incident. The incident.
The death of Zoe. I think that's what everyone's wanting us to hear.
Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the episode,
did you see it coming?
It is the red wedding, isn't it? It is the red wedding of House of Cards. It totally did not expect it, and a moment of, no, she slipped, she fell, she'll be fine. No, but that's what's, I suppose, and in a way maybe Game of Thrones has thrown those things caution to the wind, where they're willing to kill off major characters and still keep it fresh. Maybe they've taken that page out of George R. R. Martin's book, where you can keep the story going by removing a character. I think it was brave, very brave for a main cast member, but it progresses the story along beautifully now that we're willing to say we're seeing how far Frank's going to go and what's going on.
Look, I think you nailed it very early on when you said that it was a stark and real reminder of who Francis Underwood is. This is a bloke who just will do anything, and you could, I think about it back, and I'm not the person that rewatches these things, but as I think through it again, I think you could see it happening. You could see him thinking, this is not enough, and even to the point where he asked her to clear her phone. That was like him thinking, the phone's going to be accessible no matter what I do. It's got to go. So I thought it was brilliant, unbelievably brilliant scripting. And this is what's interesting to me about the whole thing. We talk about this as some sort of online phenomenon, but this is a television phenomenon. This is a series that you cannot underestimate how executives around the world would be wanting for this show. Because they would love to have this, even if it was a binge for them or a multiple episodes or a week long, that they would love to find a way to make it work. But imagine picking up the phone to Netflix and saying, "Hey, can I run it on linear TV?" Nah, sorry.
It's an amazing story, and the thing that I think underpins that is the methodology. When the writers got together and they were speaking with Netflix, and they sort of said, "Hey, we want to reinvent House of Cards," and Netflix were like, "Great, we think that's a great idea," and they got all that going on. Instead of them getting half a season and then getting renewed and that sort of stuff, or a whole season, they actually got gifted 2 seasons of 13 episodes each and allowed to write across those 2 seasons. So stuff that was being set up in Series 1 is now paying off in Series 2 intentionally, as how they've laid that out. It's amazing.
But don't you think it's also amazing how, given that, right, so given that they've had that foresight ahead of them, they can still make episode by episode. This is what I'm marvelled with television writers because of this. I sit there and it comes to 10 o'clock at night. It comes to 11 o'clock at night. You think, I'll just do one more. I'll just do one more. The only reason I stop is because I know my kids are going to wake me at 5:36. Otherwise, there's no way I wouldn't have just gone all the way through. And I think and this is I'm not spoiling anything by saying it's just as hard to stop at the end of an episode at 6, 7, 8, and 9 as it is at 1. And that's what's amazing about this show.
Yeah, the pacing is outrageous. The way that they're able to take, 49, 50 minutes of television and keep you connected and keep you involved, acknowledging that, there's stuff in this that you'll have to have watched the episode before to understand why it's happening. But then, it gets to sort of, well, not even in the first episode, it gets to, about the 39th minute, and there's the train, and then there's another 10 minutes of what's the aftermath of this, and people going to ground, and just crazy stuff taking place. And that echoes through the next 5 or 6 episodes as far as just that incident, let alone anything else that's going on. I want to put to you guys a question. I was talking with somebody on social media earlier about House of Cards, and they said Season 1 it's certainly Frank's story. There's no question. But season 1 was all about Claire and her Lady Macbeth approach to just manipulation, and she's the power behind the throne. Season 2, is it Claire's or is it Frank's?
I think it's equal part.
Certainly in that second episode of season 2, there's a lot of Claire, and it delves into her past and her history, and you can just see her just subtly, just implying to Frank what she wants to see happen, and I love watching Claire. And there was that part in season 1 where she delivers that dialogue about happily seeing the baby wither and die in your belly. That line, I mean, it was just so evil and so wicked. But
I kind of think, I mean, I'm not honestly. I'm just a viewer. I'm not someone that overanalyzes. I didn't think of season 1 as a Claire thing. If I have to say, I would have thought of season 1 as a partnership builder. It started as Frank's show, and then you realised it wasn't just Frank. Through the affair, you kind of realised this wasn't an affair that was going to break it up. This was just an affair they had to work past. So I'll be honest with you, without being a spoiler, I think season 2 is shaping up to be Claire's. I think we need to have this conversation again at the end of season 2. And if you think season 1 was Claire's, I reckon season 2 is Claire's. That's just what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, look, that's not an unreasonable call, Trevor. I mean, we're about at the same point in the season, so there's a whole bunch that's starting to unravel and reveal itself as far as how that plays out. So I think, to be fair to everyone, we start to wrap this up now. If Nicole wants to join us again, she can. Kevin, you're up to episode 3.
Yep, that's right. I've seen episode 3.
What's your favourite moment so far, just across the season, this season?
It's hard to go past that moment where that first time in season 2 where Frank turns to us as an audience and addresses us and says, "Welcome back." I mean, that "welcome back," that was just such a great line, and it's hard to go past that as something that's just set it up beautifully.
Yeah, Nicole, you've only seen season 1, episode 1, so far of season 2, haven't you? What's your favourite moment from that?
Well, it was the carry-on from Welcome Back, but it was the cufflinks.
Yes.
In my mind, having the beautifully done, just Frank Underwood, the initials, and having them sit there on the bench and not fade to black with the credits rolling, but he's spoken to us, as Kevin said, welcome back, you've got to be the hunter or the hunted. And then to have his cufflinks there on the bench, there is a message to us. It's like, don't care what you guys reckon, this is what I'm doing, and if you don't like it, too bad, so sad. And that for me was, okay, this is taken to a whole new level of play now. This has gone beyond the initial season, which was great. This has now stepped it up. This is they've found their mojo, they've found their groove, and they're really running with it. And that for me was like, okay, we're serious now. That was my moment.
Yeah,
very much.
And I even love the symbolism with the cufflinks, whereas he wouldn't accept a gift from anyone else in the world of politics. He wouldn't accept a gift from his wife or anyone else, but from the common man, from his chauffeur, he was willing to accept a gift from him. And I just love that little bit of symbolism that Frank doesn't want to be in debt to anyone. He wants to be the man in charge. And
he probably appreciated the joke as well from the driver, FU. I think he probably appreciated that.
Kevin, I think you've nailed a really distinct theme there. Obviously, it's not ridiculously overwhelming to get the whole. He's not going to be owned by anyone, and he wants the power. Again, difficult because I don't want to spoil anything, but the Raymond Tusk relationship as it builds through this show is fantastic. You have this man who is a mentor, a confidant to the President of the United States. You have this man who comes in who is this political, I think of him as Richo, but I know Richo. I don't think of Richo as a man who would murder someone at a train station, but, in terms of the numbers man and that kind of thing. And you have these two...
train station.
You have these two people at the President's beck and call, also that the President relies on, and the way they develop that relationship through third-party stuff that goes on is brilliant, brilliant, and it's a great thing to look forward to in season 2.
Yeah, look, I completely agree and echo that, Trevor. There's a moment towards the end of episode 8 where some stuff's going on that's affected Claire and Frank, and they know that Tusk is involved, and Frank is determined that this man has to, he's got to get his comeuppance. They want to destroy him, and Claire pauses and says, no, we have to make him suffer. And it's one of those moments where it cuts to Frank. He's talking to the camera. He says, I don't know whether to be proud or to be mortified.
Brilliant. It's brilliant.
Beautiful.
And isn't it amazing that we talk about that episode 1, that moment, and the thing is, as I reflect on 9 episodes, that's the only, boom, real one-off thing that happens that blows your mind. But the more I think back now as we talk about it, the medal ceremony, which means nothing but then means so much, things that draw on through episodes that as if they were a single incident would have that same effect, but they've been drawn out. I just think there's something stunning about this program, which people in the industry are trying to replicate just through scripting, let alone through hype.
Well,
I think you've nailed.
Sorry, Nicole.
I think you've nailed it. Sorry, I think you've nailed it there, Trevor. The scripting is excellent and amazing how far they're taking it. But you can have a great script, but really crap actors.
Yeah.
And I think what we're seeing here is Kevin Spacey coming to his own. He's always been really good and theatrical. But if you don't have those quality actors, you can have a great script and it'll go nowhere. And I think that's what's selling it here, is that it's Robin Wright and he working so beautifully, and the other characters. But if you don't have a good actor to deliver those lines, it's lost. And I think the stuff that he's doing is amazing. He sells it. I keep referring to him as being delicious. He is deliciously manipulative. He's deliciously naughty. He's deliciously everything. It is delicious the way he portrays that character. I think he must love it. He must absolutely relish having that time with it.
Who wouldn't want to be a smarmy, powerful, egomaniacal man with a finger in every possible.
I think there's probably a fair few who would have.
United States
Can't
of America
relate.
in the modern day. It's a roller coaster ride, and look, I think the thing that we're seeing is Hollywood is coming knocking to television. When you see stuff like House of Cards come out of Netflix, the quality, the script writing, the caliber of the performances, not just from Kevin Spacey and Robin Wright Penn, across the board, there just hasn't been a letdown from any of the cast. It's been absolutely stunning and spectacular. I don't know about you guys, but I've got another 4 episodes to go and watch tonight, so we should wrap it up. Nicole, how can people track you down in the social world of the internet?
You can attack me, find me, whatever, at Nicole Gunn, NIKOLEGUNN, so at Nicole Gunn, or find me on Facebook. Converse, chat, love it. And I'm absolutely stuck on this show, so anyone who wants to go with me episode by episode, week by week, don't spoil it for me, but I'll discuss every single twitch, tick, wince, wink, whatever. So just come and find me.
Excellent. Trevor, you seem to be all things to all men. Where can people find you?
Pretty much Twitter, Trevor Long, Facebook, Trevor Long, and gibbering and whatnot on EFTM.com.au with podcasts and all that sort of stuff.
High quality gibberings. I can endorse them a lot. Kevin, where can people track you down?
Yes, on my website, Daily TV News at melby.com, and of course on the Twitter, Kevin Perry.
Excellent. I am Steve Molk. I'm from Molk's TV Talk. I'm the guy that's making all of the noises in your Twitters, whether you liked it or not. This has been the House of Cards, oh my God, podcast video thing. We'll reconvene when everyone's watched the 13, and we will, oh my God, a little bit more.